What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to this episode of Split Screen D&D, the place where we're attacking all things Dungeons & Dragons from both sides of the screen, just like that. My name's Tom Quinn, resident Dungeon Master here at Modern Myth.
And I'm Josh Winans, resident player character here at Modern Myth.
Caught me on a sip of my whiskey there. No, this one, this is actually going to be an interesting episode because this one is coming direct from the comments section. If you do the honors, sir, yes. I want to make sure I get this right. I want to make sure I get this right.
Pass that off.
No, this is this comment here. I'm putting it right here. No, this comment's coming from Matthew S., who dropped us the comment, and it really actually got me thinking about the broader discography of our content, if you will.
As of late, yeah.
And Matthew S. says, I feel like every time you guys make a video, it is all about how much you don't like D&D 5e. The game is clearly not giving you something you want. Why wouldn't you play a different game? And I wrote back to Matthew S. And effectively just said, hey, I definitely want to respond to this, but I think it's going to be better if we do it via video. So for starters, thank you a huge amount, Matthew S., for reaching out on the comment section, and that's what we're going to be getting into today is why 5th edition.
Yeah, which is a great topic. Before we launch into that, man, Internet, we love you. We love you a lot, and you've been really helpful and supportive towards us, hitting that like button, subscribing. But man, we're almost at 400. I think we're getting close.
We're getting close.
Man, I just remember when we had
370 as of right now, and that's or 370 something.
Yeah. So who knows?
20 something, 30 thereabouts.
Who's going to be the 400th? Who's going to be that amazing person? That's all I'm going to ask. But no, really, guys, we really appreciate it. And please, if this isn't evident in this conversation here, please comment. Like, we really do read these things, and it gets us thinking. Like, it makes us question where we're doing, and it's all it makes us do is grow as players and human beings. So, no, please continue the comments.
Yeah.
And, hey, I'm going to get it right this time. Patreon exists at patreon.com/modmyth.
No way.
I practiced in front of a mirror for at least 2 hours.
Wow, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt that. And I will 100% echo with regard to the comments. There's been some just awesome insights and engagements, not just between ourselves and the commenters. And that's a space that I would love to cultivate, that as a place that people can come and really trade ideas, spar with each other over, keep it civil, but spar with each other over your TTRPG preferences. It's a great spot down there. I'm really enjoying being down in the comment section. So keep them coming, guys.
Yeah, you enjoy me getting down. It's Tuesday.
All
right, man. So why 5th edition?
Yeah, and I think it really did get me thinking. I got this comment and I went, "Holy crap, he's right." I mean,
we've been a little bit dogging on 5e
and
lately.
So I want to have like a little before.
Okay.
Before we dive into this, so to kind of immediately address the question, I love 5th edition.
Okay.
I there are so many systems out there, D&D and non-D&D alike, and we are playing 5th edition.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we highlight a lot of the things we are not crazy about in 5th edition, and I think it's one of those things. If 5th edition and us are in a relationship, we're at that point in our relationship where we know all of each other's quirks. We know that 5th edition doesn't always run the dishwasher when it's supposed to, or it doesn't take out the trash. I mean, that's kind of, when you know something well and you've become very comfortable with the system, you know the things you love about it, and you know the things you're not so crazy about it. And I think there's enough people waving the flag for the systems they love. And I love 5th edition, but that does not absolve it of its shortcomings. And so that's kind of just to clarify.
Right, but just like any relationship, if all you do is nitpick all the negatives and all the flaws you see, then that relationship probably is not going to work out.
So we're taking 5th edition out for a date.
Yeah, date night.
We're doing it. We're doing it.
We love you,
so
5th edition.
And then I also just wanted to caveat this. There's going to be a ton, I know, that I will have to say that before the comments are flooded about like, well, this system does that too, and this system that 100%. I get that there's going to be a lot of things I'm going to have to say about 5th edition that can be achieved in many other systems that are not unique exclusively to 5th edition.
Right.
But there are aspects of the system that have retained me. So, do we want to start on the DM side? We want to start on the player side? What are your thoughts?
Man, I can get into it. I can. So to give a history of my D&D relationship, I started with the 4E, man. I started with 4E. You were my DM, so you can't say nothing.
Here's the thing. It blows my mind that you ever left. I just
Actually, the min-max. There's parts of me that still very much enjoyed 4E and that kind of missed parts of it. But so for me, from transitioning from 4E to 5E, it was like almost a completely different game in a lot of respects. And I think one of the biggest things for me as a player was just how much it expanded my just perception of how to play D&D. Because in 4E, you had like dailies and we had like
something's going on in the studio.
Yeah, we had you had dailies and you had like encounters and you had at wills. And that was what you had. So wizards, you didn't have a spell book, you had these abilities and that's it. I don't know if there was many racial abilities. There wasn't many. And like in 5E, you have like a laundry list of abilities that keep growing and growing and growing.
Right.
And that really pushed the envelope of what you could do and because of that, you approached these difficulties or encounters or any dilemmas in unique and interesting ways. So like if you're a barbarian, instead of just being like, well, I guess I don't know how I'm going to solve this problem. It's like, no, I'm going to rage because when I rage, I have like I get advantage on my athletics check that's already bomb. So I'm going to approach it from that way, and it just really gets your juices flowing. So
Gotcha.
I really loved 5e for that.
I will echo. I mean, my entry point wasn't 4th edition, but my return to Dungeons and Dragons. There was a long hiatus post AD&D where I just hadn't been playing. I play a little bit of 3.5, and actually, I have nothing really negative to say about 3.5. But when I returned back to Dungeons and Dragons, I was like, oh well, 4th edition is what's out,
the newest one,
and just flat out, I was like, what has like this is no, I mean like, and it just wasn't even recognizable. It really wasn't. And so as a starter, kind of that transition from 4E to 5E, I remember going like, oh, like this at least has the trappings of the Dungeons and Dragons I knew when I was younger. And so I think that really was a big part of my impetus to move away from 4th edition, just because it really didn't feel It didn't feel like Dungeons and Dragons to me, or not the same game, anyways. So anyway, that was just piggybacking off of your.
Would you say that's because of your what part of what was such a departure from 4E to 5E that brought back that nostalgia feelings?
Well, I think I just think the crux of the direction they tried to take 4th edition was just gamifying everything. And I think what it resulted in was a system where you had all sorts of powers and abilities, but if you stripped away the flavor text, it was literally just roll this dice for damage.
Yep. Yeah.
And the one that you hit on it that really appalled me, I was like, where's the spell lists?
Yeah.
Like, what is going on here?
Yes.
Like that, and so yeah, I mean, like I said, that's just a chime in to say that transition from 4th edition really reminded me, obviously there are many differences between AD&D and 5th edition, but it at least was, it seemed as though the pendulum had swung while I was away. Right. And when I came back, I went like, oh man, like they're really doing it different now. Yeah. And then, so my assumption when 5th edition came out, I was like, well, probably it's more of what we've been
Yes,
accustomed to
right.
with 4th edition.
But
And it really was kind
Yeah.
of, I would say the pendulum you could feel had kind of at least swung back in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of kicks off the crux of,
Yeah, please.
I think 5th edition, 5th edition is kind of I think a good representation of, I'm trying to think the best way to say it. I think 5th edition is a good representation of what D&D has always been. Albeit they've clearly taken pains to streamline certain things, and I would guess, and in my experience, this is absolutely the case. The ability to onboard, and it'll be my point number 1 with regards to something I love about 5th edition.
Yeah.
The ability to onboard new players.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and I guarantee we're gonna hear about it in the comments on this. Because and
Do it.
but
Do
do it. But I think the ability to onboard new players, and in my experience, I mean, I've had people who have never played Dungeons and Dragons, have never played TTRPG, have never played an RPG in video game form.
Right.
Sit down with the only instruction that I'm giving them is, you tell me what you want to do in the world, and I'll tell you what I need from you. But it's going to involve rolling a die 20.
Yeah.
That's and I mean, it really is that simple a system. Obviously, the combat gets far more convoluted than that.
Yeah, especially as you get higher level.
Yeah, but a really good example is like Daryl and Lindsay. I mean, we are 1 or 2 sessions away from the end of their campaign, and both of them were totally, I would say, totally green with regard to the RPG space or tabletop.
No,
RPG
I remember
space.
Daryl 7 years ago was a drow.
That's true. That's
one
true. But yeah, no, actually, I completely forgot about that. But yes, that's true. That was and was that a 5th edition?
No, that was 4th edition.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
way. I think it was Rygar, first campaign ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
But all that said is when we sat down, I think it really showed the strength as a canvas for players to be able to jump into a seat and just start playing the game. I think a heavy criticism, and this ties into the onboarding, a heavy criticism that 5th edition catches has to do with kind of the snarking at the notion that it's a rules light system. And I would technically agree, but I think that's absolutely not true. It is not a rules light system for a DM.
Okay.
But I can say from experience that I have, again, they're running through, they're almost done with their campaign. They have never looked at the player handbook ever. They've never, I mean,
and they can do everything just fine. They're interacting with the world.
Yeah. I mean, but the difference is obviously there's a certain amount of lifting as a DM that I have to do.
Right.
And I think, I don't think it can be said of every system out there. I'm not saying 5e is the only one that can do it. But it really is. It's like it's a really solid gateway drug of a T.
Hey, little Sammy, have you tried TTRPGs? Let me send this 5e.
Well, and it's 100%. I mean, I think that's the case. And for that reason, I think, however you feel about 5th edition, there are people right now who are playing older editions. There are people who are gearing up for 1 D&D. There's people who are playing systems that are not even Dungeons and Dragons. Some totally non D&D system who owe their love for this hobby to the fact that Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition was digestible when they sat down the first time. And I mean, I can definitely say there are some systems, I think specifically like 3.5, these crunchier systems that the idea of trying to onboard a player into that, just the character creation is like very robust. For someone who's experienced, might love it, but the
average.
onboarding process is going to. So that I guess would be my starting point. Is the gateway factor of, and it shows in the numbers.
Right.
I mean, so many people are entering this hobby through 5th edition. Wherever they land in the TTRPG space is to be determined.
Right.
But I think there's reasons why.
Yeah, no, and I was polling our other players at our table, and Amanda, your lovely wife, echoed that same thing, but she also had a little not caveat, but an extra little thing to that. Man, my English very bad today. She wanted this. She said the same thing. It's like it's a great entry point, but you can also go pretty deep into it. And from the player side, like especially like character creation, like, oh, do you want a multi-class? Okay, now you start to really get more into it, and then you can really get crunchy. You use the word crunchy, I'll use that. Crunchy with a lot of things, especially combat, which I think is where 5e really is focused on a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think it is, and I think, I mean, I think there is enough depth to the broader system that, I mean, obviously there's people who are only playing 5th edition. That's all they're.
And some of these people who are dissecting like Treat Monk and D4 Optimizer, who are just like I call myself a mid-maxer, but they make me look like a dunce in the corner. Like they're just on another level.
Ooh, dunce in the corner. It is Tuesday.
And one other thing I want to add to that it's a great entry point is we also had such great role models as people who've, like, for me, going from 4e to 5e, it wasn't until I saw that what's that one show? No one's ever heard of it, I'm sure. Critical Rule.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, those guys.
Yeah. That we like this is how you can play the game, and then we couldn't play the game that they were playing, obviously, but we could kind of like emulate. We could practice. It's like, watching Michael Jordan to play better basketball, watching the best of the best to play better D&D.
Well, I think you definitely, I mean, nailed part of the popularity side of things. Is, I mean, we have
highest rate Kickstarter on Twitch ever.
Yeah, I mean, just some the fact that there are so many actual plays and so many people talking about the 5th edition space,
right.
Whether they're YouTube creators. Again, I mean, there's many. I mean, I would say actually it's probably about 50-50 with people that I'm watching regularly on YouTube. Some subset of them are 5th edition guys and gals. Some subset of them are old school or even completely different TTRPGs. But it's certainly, and you scratched one of my other ones. You certainly in the 5th edition ecosystem are not wanting for content, whether it be, and now I know that there's very mixed feelings about some of the books that have been coming out lately from the WotC side of things, but the beauty is just by nature of its prevalence. There are so many independent creators.
Yes, it's so huge.
There are, I mean, and whether it's supplemental content, as in, like, I mean, we've touched a number of times on Dungeon Coach. Alcander's is just an unbelievable supplement to overhaul the 5th edition rule set through all these kind of cool homebrews. But, whether it's homebrewed tweaks to the system, whether it's just, hey, I wrote this cool module, you guys should check it out. I mean, there is something to be said for opening that fire hose and just going, what do I feel like checking out today? I mean, it's, I know, again, there are times that people kind of point a finger and go like, D&D's casting such a big shadow in this fashion. 5th edition is casting, or even D&D as a whole is casting such a big shadow that there's great content beyond D&D that doesn't always get its due.
Right.
But I don't necessarily disagree with that position, but it is a deal where when you are the elephant in the room, you're going to take up the space that you take up, and there's going to be people who accommodate to that massive market that's developing around it. So,
and we were talking earlier, and you brought the point that's like, well, attention is being drawn to TTRPGs, period. Now, whatever it is, the hobby is growing. Is that not a good thing?
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I think however you feel about 5th edition, and I know that 5th edition, I think, is a pretty polarizing system. I mean,
I had no idea until I got involved in all this YouTube stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are people who just go like 5th edition, what?
Yeah.
You know, but again, whatever your alternative is, the likelihood that the player base for the system you love, the likelihood that it is growing and growing potentially off of the traffic that's coming in through those gates. I think it's floating all TTRPG ships.
Yeah.
And we touched on it briefly, and I really don't want to go that direction, but that was a way that was maybe I didn't say it as well as I should have in our analysis, if you want to call it that, of the 1D&D.
All hail 1D&D.
It is a requirement. But that's what really concerns me about them closing the gates on that ecosystem, is that the likelihood of players landing somewhere else. I think it's a good thing that some subset of the 5th edition population
free market,
doesn't want to land in 5th edition. They want to explore other things. That's a great thing.
That is a great thing.
And so just to echo on that video, that was one of my major concerns, and I don't know how well I articulated it.
That's what's hard about the internet. Once you say it, it's out there. And
it's out there.
And you're like, man, I wish I could have said that better. Too late. It's published for all to see.
Too late.
All right, back on to 5th edition, though. What we love.
Hit me on the player side. What's something for those players out there?
Okay, this is something which I realize that when the words leave my mouth, I'm going to sound like a hypocrite, because I think this is one of the very things I wish that they would fix from that one video. But overall, as a whole, it's fairly well balanced. As a whole, yeah, Monk could use some love. Ranger could do, but I mean, if you want to play I don't know, a barbarian,
no.
Actually, I think this would be super fun on a halfling, ghost-wise, because it can do telepathy. Moon Druid, right? You wouldn't think, but a tiny little halfling who turns into a giant fucking bear. Like, that would be fucking cool. You can do that if you want to be a dragonborn, like cat, like it can be a dragonborn, anything. I mean, that's what's so cool, is anything can be anything. That you're really not limited by, you have to do this. No, don't get me wrong. I mean, there are certain things, like a gnome barbarian is kind of weird. Could you make it work if you rolled like a boss? Maybe.
No, it's not. Talk with your DM. Get him to sign off on your gnome barbarian. I want to hear it in the comments about how you ruined everyone's life.
I really want to do a one shot where I am a gnome barbarian. That'd be freaking hilarious, man. That'd be so funny.
I'm ready for it.
I hope you are. I already have a voice ready for it. But it just allows for such character concepts that as a player, it's a breath of fresh air that you can play if you want. I'd love to do archetypes of here. Like, if you want to play an Indiana Jones character, boom. If you want to play a Han Solo character, boom. If you want to play a Luke Skywalker character, boom. If you want to play a Malcolm Reynolds character, boom.
We need to play some 3.5 or Pathfinder. I know. I think your brain is going to be absolutely fried when because I think everything you're saying they've taken to the nth degree.
Okay, that might be true, and I'm incredibly ignorant
at an expense. And I think
because it's so approachable,
I think that's kind of your a little bit of your trade-off. Is I do think that they have done a good job of allowing for exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Without making it so unpalatable to a new player that they just go like, I don't think tabletop RPGs are for me. I don't think, it's like, again, I mean, I literally, I don't think I've sat down with anyone,
right,
who didn't find some enjoyment in the space. And again, this echoes back to the beginning. I'm sure that there's people out there running 3.5 who are like, everyone that I sit down with loves 3.5. Everyone that I sit down with in my OSR games love it. Great. I mean, it's just more to say that I think that that barrier to entry is so low.
Yeah.
And they've done a reasonable job of providing some amount of substance in that space.
Yeah, and I do recognize that, like, you know, if you want to be a Beastmaster Ranger, I don't know, they've done so much to it, and I don't know how good it is, and if they've actually made it somewhat a decent class. So I understand there are some weak points there, like having a pet is hard. But I mean, if you really want that, you could go like a creation bard, which is, I think we've mentioned it. That's a cool college. The creation is a bard. There's wizards can summon fucking demons and greater demons, and there's so many cool things you can do.
Oh, no doubt. And I think what you're effectively getting at is one of my points as a DM.
Please.
Is the players that I know really enjoy 5th edition. I mean, there's, I'll say, when you consider that the number of DMs to the number of player, that ratio, definitionally, DMs are on the losing end of the ratio,
as they should be.
But it's just a matter of however I feel about running the game. Which, like I said, I have my issues with the system, if those issues overpowered the things I love about the system and the types of games that can unfold, the types of stories that can unfold, the types of shenanigans that can unfold,
so fun.
But players like having the options that 5th edition grants them.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, again, this is maybe a point of contention, but when you're talking about, I don't even know how many playable races now. I don't know how many playable classes, 13? I think.
Something like
Pretty
that.
sure it's
I should
13.
know this. I don't remember off the top of my head.
You failed me.
I
I can tell you precisely how many entries there are in the monster manual. I'm not going to do it in this exact moment,
Right, but you could.
I definitely could if I wanted to. I get a little confused because I've also aggregated like every additional supplement worth of monsters. So just don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I forget how amazing you are sometimes. Thanks for reminding me.
But it really is a deal where, when you're talking about looking at those combinations, like what you're talking about, Wizards of the Coast, who, again, I've got all sorts of reservations about some of their decision making for the franchise, has hit on something that players love, and that's options. Yes. And there's no wonder why I want to say the last few years, the number of playable races has like doubled, maybe tripled. I mean, it's like, it's
now the point where you can put ability scores into any race, which we won't get into this one, but like, because I know it's not your favorite thing in the world, but like, so it really, you could literally, actually, I could play my gnome barbarian pretty easy with that rule set.
Right. If we're playing with the one D&D Unearthed Arcana,
one D&D. I thought that was released before, like when there.
It may have been. Like I said, I immediately went like, never happening. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot. All hail one D&D.
Yeah, geez, the overlords are going to be pissed about that one. But I do think to some extent, DMs need to be cognizant of what their players are excited about and what they're enjoying.
Yes.
And there's
a
lot.
We matter too.
Yeah. I don't want to take it that far. But no, I think it's just a deal where, something I love about running 5th edition is I sit down, and whether I'm running for the Rovers, whether I'm running this virtual campaign, which is very like, it's 5th edition, but we've tweaked tons of stuff to be kind of more of an old school kind of vibe. It's got this kind of horror sci-fi deal going on. Whether it's the Hearthfire campaign that I'm running with some other friends, I'm happy when my players are excited. I'm happy when my players are happy. I'm happy. I mean, if I sat down and I went, I love this. This is great. And I look around and my players are like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, that I'm not.
Is it that bad of an experience though as a DM? You're making it sound like, oh, okay, let's play fifth. Oh, at least you're enjoying yourself.
No. But I'm saying I legitimately love when my players are hyped, and I think there's plenty that fifth edition hands players to be hyped about. And it's not. That's not to say that there aren't things I'm not also hyped about myself.
Okay,
but something. I mean, part of the reason I sit in that chair is because there are moments that are playing out at the table that I get to look around and I get to go like this is fucking cool. I'm sitting here with my a multitude of friends, and
we're friends.
I hate. This is what I hate about this. This is what I hate about.
Put him on the spot.
Is, no, but we're sitting around collaboratively telling a story around a table. We hit about this, I think on our very first video, we hit on this. I mean, we might as well be sitting around the campfire, barely capable of like grunting out tones. It's archaic. I mean, it really is this antiquated experience.
Yes. Oral storytelling. Yeah.
But watching a player take the reins and just do something amazing, delivering a plot point that everyone goes like, what? No way. Watching that crit and everyone sees it. And, all of those things combined. And I get that literally every example I just gave maps to every system.
Yeah.
My point being that the excitement, that electricity that's arcing around the table, 5th edition has given me no reason to move away from that. I sit down at the table to run a 5e game, and it's electric. People are hyped to be there. People are, and what more can you ask for as a DM? I mean, literally, if I don't know what you're sitting around the table for, if not to have that experience. Whatever else is going to transpire at the table, that's between you and your table and your gods.
Right.
But people being hyped about being there.
Right.
To me, that's the dream. That's the dream as a DM.
Well, then I'm gonna steer the car back to my side. I don't know if it might be my last
Players.
point. Yeah, well, I know. Well, you're gonna feel bad because this isn't mine. This is my lovely wife's, Ariel's. So you're kind of a dick now.
She's not even here to defend herself.
When she hears this, she's gonna punch you hard, but on the shoulder. But this kind of also flies in the face of some of the stuff we've also said, because for her, we've often said that, hey, you need to ramp up the imminent death threat, and for her, she's like, no, I like that. Yes, death is there; it's always there, but it's not a constant worry. So therefore, I'm able to really invest in my character and really draw out these narrative, because it's an investment that's going to pay off. And that is those connections you make to your characters. And then when you have a table full of people who are also doing the same thing, you can really make some interesting stories happen and come to life that I don't think, and I played OSR, and I think there's a lot of wonderful things to be gained from it that I don't think you can do at an OSR table. Because,
well, I think you have to pay your dues before you can get to that place.
And that's very true. Yes. I only played a very, very short amount, so I might be totally wrong.
I just mean there is some threshold you cross where now your character is capable of being, I think, more investable.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But I think for 5e,
I catch your point.
And it's approachable. It's happening right from, like, maybe not level 1, because level 1 is so fragile, but like level 3 on, you kind of have that barrier from death. And so you're able to have those connections. And I think that is a very powerful thing that 5e does that I didn't get from 4e at all, and definitely not from OSR. And again, I didn't play much OSR, so I might be totally wrong about that.
I actually hope that maybe we were able to amend that and run some more in the future. And
yeah,
just kind of see where people's heads are at.
Yeah, with all the free time we have.
Yeah. I mean, when we're done with these shoots, we'll just roll up some characters and
you mean
slay some beasts.
And
yes,
not sleep and not work and not take care of kids and. Anyway,
those are all superfluous.
Yeah.
Mentioned
D&D for life.
Totally unnecessary.
Yeah, because this kind of flies a little bit in the face of some of the stuff that we've said.
Oh, especially stuff that I've said. I think I've been the most vocal about.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I do think that the pendulum has swung a distance that I would like to see it come back.
Mm-hmm.
But 5th edition is a canvas for a very specific kind of game playing out.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I might go, I would love to see that come back a little bit. And something else, that I will say is that we've hit on this a number of times. The 5th edition that we are generally
That's
playing
true.
isn't it. Again, I think it's true to the vision of 5th edition, no doubt. But just for my sanity's sake, there are times where I'm making little tweaks and things like that on the fringe. But 100% echoing what you're saying, yes, I think 5th edition is designed for players to be able to invest in their characters from a very early point, and be rewarded for that investment, to have dividends paid for being narratively invested in their character. In fact, another comment, I don't remember specifically which video, but the crux of the comment was that the weight that's imparted in 5th edition tends to be not lent by your last torch burning out, not lent by the fact that you are fragile and on death's door, at near every turn. It's lent from the narrative aspects that are challenging that investment in your character. If your character comes from some small village and you catch word that that village is toast or it's going to be, that's the, like I said. So I 100%, I stand by everything that I've said. I really do think that there are spaces to correct that, but I run 5th edition because I love the stories that unfold collaboratively at the table. And I think it is a phenomenal canvas to paint those pictures. It is a phenomenal space to tell those stories. Just like when I was talking with One Shot, I'm not a short form guy. I'm a long form. That's the way I roll. I mean, it is what it is.
Know thyself.
And I mean, it would be very difficult to say that 5th edition is not accommodating to the long form
very much.
experience. And so I completely agree. I think the issue, the place in which you're going to go, I really don't care for 5th edition, is if you believe that what 5th edition is trying to accomplish is what OSR was trying to accomplish. And it simply isn't.
Right.
It literally is trying to deliver a completely different experience.
Yes.
Whether you enjoy that experience or not. I love the OSR experience. Like I said, I will say the little micro campaign that I'm running, which is again more or less 5th edition framework, but everything else is OS. I mean, I've got my spin down dice monitoring their O2 as they're scrambling to find their next one. I mean, they just TPK'd. They literally last session they TPK'd. I know. They're heading back out. But something interesting in talking with Amanda about that, and this is pertinent to 5th edition, is I could see the juices flowing of going, but there was a very 5th edition response to losing her character, and she was having a hard time feeling invested in the new character that she's going to be building. And so I completely get that.
Yeah.
The fact is, I love old school. There's a game called Blades in the Dark. I know we've never played.
Maybe even talk about that one.
It's a phenomenal rule system for running heists. In fact,
fun.
Probably when we get to the Sword Coast, we may see some of those rules infiltrating.
Fun.
Really cool stuff. I mean, they've done some really, really cool stuff. I love that. But that doesn't preclude me from loving a space in which my players can be hyped and invested in their character, and we can session after session unfold this story in I'm not crazy about the term, but I think there's a lot of people who would go like, yeah, that's the right term, in a I guess I'm going to use the term a more casual environment. Certainly as a player, I think the moment where you go, okay, I can breathe.
Yes.
That's more casual than not breathing. You know what I mean? You know, so
yeah. I hear what you're saying.
I know I think casual is often used as a pejorative.
Yeah, like a get good scrub. Yeah.
But
freaking casuals.
But the fact of the matter is I have been a party too, and I have seen unbelievable stories, novel-worthy stories, movie-worthy story. Movies is a terrible example these days, but you know what I mean.
I hate you, Hollywood.
That are transpiring sans that threat of constant death, that threat of. So, like I said, I 100% agree that it is a system for precisely what she outlined.
Yes,
and you're really not going to like it if you want it to give you something other than what it's designed to give you.
Yeah.
But I love it.
Yeah,
I love what it gives. I think it delivers what it promises very, very effectively.
Well, do you have any? I feel like I'm wrapping up. I'm players out there. I am one person, and I'm sure I missed a lot of really good reasons. Please fill in for my dumb ignorance and put them down in the comments, and so we can have some really good discussions. But anything,
and that goes on
comments?
that goes on the DM side too. And like I said, I know that there is some subset of our channel, or I should say our subscribers, who do not live in the 5e. camp. I would love to hear your thoughts on this conversation.
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, I know very likely we're going to disagree on some of these points.
It's okay to disagree.
Yeah, I love
my goodness.
that. Again, I love that perspective.
Yeah.
One thing, and I'm going to make it quick, but it really is actually, it's probably my number one. I didn't do this in order.
Okay, let's hear it.
For Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, and I think a good portion of this ultimately does just reside in finding a comfort level with any system.
Okay.
But I do think that 5th edition is a system that is very tolerant of tweaks and homebrews and
no, I totally yes.
I'll put it this way. I think any TTRPG system is a series of subsystems that are kind of floating in the ether, and they're connected in some way, obviously. The rigidity of those connections, I think, has a major impact on how easy it is to tweak something without messing all of this up over here. The connective tissue for 5th edition is limber. I think...
It's just how I like my editions too. Nice and
every Tuesday you must. But it really is a deal where I think that if I want to come in over here, I've been referencing the Deep Space Salvage campaign. I mean, all those characters were rolled old school 3d6, right down the line, no moving your stats around,
right. Oh, style, baby.
You know, I mean that's one of, like I said, one of a multitude of examples that aren't inherent to 5th edition, and it tolerates it just fine. I mean, literally, I don't have to skip a beat if I want to. Yeah, and because I love so many ideas from so many different TTRPGs, grabbing it and just kind of dragging it in, and going like, how am I going to make this work? There's a modularity to the way in which the system is kind of tethered together that makes it very tinkerable. And for all of the things that I've said, and I know I've said many on this channel about my complaints about the system, its greatest strength is fixing those things that I'm not crazy about. It couldn't be more accommodating in doing so.
Yeah.
When I want it to be a more deadly system, I just go like, well, cool. Like, these are the things about OSR that I think really lend to that experience. I'm going to just drag and drop them into my 5e setting.
I'm going to be honest, you probably do it all the time. I have no idea.
And I think that's the thing is there's a very organic process of being able to go,
that's OSR feeling, or like that's like you ranched up the difficulty, didn't you? I have no idea.
Right. And I think that that's a huge strength of the system. I think that, and so that, and I think that gets to the heart of answering the question that really, or I should say the comment that really spurned on this entire episode is, for everything that I've said negative about 5th edition,
Yeah.
it couldn't have been more obliging in allowing me to correct it. Literally, I could do it mid-session if I was inclined to. There are absolutely tweaks that I think it's not fair to just
by the
steamroll your players with.
Yeah.
But I really think that it's that accommodating. I mean, there's things that you can bring into this to this space that will graft in very, very easily.
Yes.
And I think I made this analogy to you outside of recording space. It wouldn't matter what system that I was working with.
Yeah, you do this.
I love game design as a general game design in general.
Yeah, me too.
I love I'll be reading the rule set for a different TTRPG and go like, holy crap, that is the most like elegant expression of that thing. I mean, whatever it is. I use Blades in the Dark. There are some really cool the clocks concept in that, which is a great kind of success and timekeeping and challenge. It's a very visual thing, so that everyone at the table can see like, oh, we're fucking up, or we're doing good, or whatever. I see absolutely no reason to not reach out and pluck those things and drop into your game.
Yeah.
And if your home base is a system that wants to push back against that, then you're going to have a hell of a time trying to graft all of these things into your game space. And the best thing I can say about 5th edition is it has never pushed back. I can't think of one instance where I wanted to bring something into the game space and it began domino affecting problems throughout the rest of the system. So that's probably my real number one.
No, and I could totally agree with that from the player side. If ever for the times that I feel like the basic rule set doesn't have the thing I want to do, it is not a crazy hard thing for me to be like, how can I make this more powerful? Boom, and run it by my DMs. Like, hey, what do you think about instead of my whatever, can I make it a little bit more stronger so it's a little bit more comparable? Real, like you're saying, it is very accommodating of it.
Yeah, and so in the I know the volumes and volumes of episodes that we've done now, which are actually getting up there. We're coming up on 30, guys.
Hey-o.
That in fact, I think that's next episode. This is episode 29. I believe.
God, time flies.
But for all of those things where I've said, I wish this was this.
You've been a dick to 5e.
I've I owe 5e like a nice steak dinner.
You really do.
And like some rose petals leaving the bedroom when I get back home, and some
oil
Barry
and
White.
foot massage.
No, I don't play that game. If 5th edition wants to give me a massage, then by all means. But that's no. I really think that. I hope that this answers addresses the comment. I would love to hear your thoughts. Like, did we adequately answer your question?
Probably not, but
I hope so. But if not, those of you who are, find a home base in 5th edition, why do you love 5th edition?
Yeah.
For those of you who do not find a home base in 5th edition, what is it about your system, whether it be D&D or non-D&D? Like, why has it captured you? Why are you sitting down at your table and your players are hyped to sit down and be granted the experience that system was designed to grant you?
And I'll give you people who are sticking away from 5e. I will say, as a person who was only 5e, the more I broaden my experience, the more I start to take bits and pieces from things, kind of like what you're saying. Don't shut yourself off completely from 5e. There might be little tiny things that you're like, hey, that's kind of neat. And why not incorporate that into your game?
Yep.
I offer you that challenge.
Yeah, I think in whatever direction, whatever you call home base,
or any other system. We're talking about 5e now, but like this, was it Blade and
Blades in the Dark?
Sure, Blades in the Dark.
Yeah.
Why not, man?
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
really real. I'll forward you the rule set. It really is and pretty succinct too. I mean, I want to say the entire game is like 50 pages,
Dang.
like
Nice.
everything.
That's
So,
nice.
Yeah, really cool, really
Yeah,
cool,
yeah, yeah.
old school kind of heisty kind
Oh,
of vibe, and a
fun.
cool setting too.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I think beyond that,
I think world is yours.
I think so. How do we want to do it?
You know what? I want you to. You know what? Just pour your love, all the love and happy feelings, all the happy feelings you have for 5e into your voice as you tell those sweet, sweet people out there that the world is theirs.
Well, if you're talking about the feelings I have for 5e, it's going to get a little steamy in here, baby. Listen, all you at home, I don't know what system you're snuggling up with tonight. Whatever it is, I hope it's keeping you warm. Hope that you're reciprocating, but, you know, you do you. However it is you choose to roll. Hope you're keeping each other warm. Hope you're rolling nothing but nat 20s. Or generally 6s if it's more of a die 6 pool type of system. Just remember, the world is yours.